Welcome to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
What is numerology? Can there really be a direct relationship between numbers and life events? Does chaos theory have anything to say about it?
Hello there, and welcome to the 271st broadcast of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. And those loaded questions you just heard came from my co-host and partner in the paranormal, my dad.
Well, loaded questions or not, before we welcome our guest, I wanted to say one thing and then do our contest. Certainly, we are here in New England, and we've pretty much been pancaked by Hurricane Irene. We, at least in Rhode Island here, had some wind and rain. It wasn't as bad as our neighbors to the west, but our electrical grid was pretty much flattened, and it's really a mess. So we're on the air here with a wing and a prayer, and we wanted to thank everyone for all the good wishes that we received by while the email lasted, and thank you very much for your concern. We are okay. There have not been any serious injuries in Rhode Island as far as I know, but again, thoughts and prayers are appropriate for those of us on the East Coast, especially those in states where there is serious flooding and have been fatalities. So anyway, let's move on to our weekly contest.
All right, so last week's question was, at what British theme park did the owners have to move the storm surge... After a storm, get storm surges. Anyway, ride earlier this year after workers were frightened by appearances of a headless monk?
Well, the answer was England's Thorpe Park, not far from London. It's a big deal over there. The park owners called in the usual self-proclaimed paranormal experts who declared that orbs came out in the photos and that the Ouija board revealed the presence of ghosts. Revealed more than that. These geniuses concluded that a burial ground or ancient settlement had been disturbed, and in any case, the owners moved the ride somewhere else. So anyhow, Barbara Hanley from London got the answer. We know a Barbara Hanley right here.
She was my piano teacher.
Yeah. Well, anyway, not the one in London, I guess, unless she's on a long vacation. She got the answer, and 12:40 a.m. doesn't usually reach all the way to London. But although we did hear from Lapland one time, they picked up the single. But Barbara said that she heard last week's internet podcast and that she is acquainted with one of the workers who saw the headless monk. I'd like to hear more about that.
There you go. Yeah. So this week's question is, to our listening area, and if you feel like answering it anywhere else in the country, on what road in the Blackstone Valley of Rhode Island has a faceless ghost that has appeared there and has been reported to be there? Okay, if you can handle this, call us locally at 401-766-1240 or from anywhere in the U.S. at 800-449-1240. So if you don't get an answer during the show and you still think you have a shot, drop a line to me at ben@behindtheparanormal.com.
And once the email starts working again. And the winner gets a copy of Love by the Numbers, How to Find Great Love or Reignite the Love you have through the power of numerology by tonight's guest. Not our usual kind of a subject, but we've never done a show on meteorology before. Meteorology, numerology. We got meteorology in our minds here in New England right now. Anyway, Glynis McCants has been studying numerology for 21 years. She uses the Pythagoras number system, which is over 2,500 years old, and Pythagoras being probably the greatest of ancient Greek mathematicians. After evaluating more than 15,000 numerology charts, Glynis wrote the best-selling book, Glynis Has Your Number. And that's cute. And her latest book, Love by the Numbers. She also was the creator of the Numerology Kit, the Individual Reading Chart, and the Are We Soulmates program. You have seen or heard her on the Tyra Banks Show, the Today Show, The View, and many others, and in a number of magazines such as LA Confidential, Time, and People. In 2008, while on The View, Glynis predicted the Obama-Biden electoral victory, and among other distinctions, the producers of the movie Number 23 hired her as the numerology expert for the Jim Carrey film. Glynis was also the numerology expert on the couples of the show Dancing with the Stars and successfully predicted the winners of the show on seasons 4 and 5. Glynis also is a colleague of ours on CBS Radio, where she has a Friday evening show from 7 to 8 Eastern. Glynis' website, www.numberslady.com. One word, numberslady.com. And if you'd like to speak with us or Glynis this evening, and if your phone works, call 401-766-1240 in the local area or 800-449-1240 nationally.
So, Glynis McCants, welcome to Behind the Paranormal.
Hi, Paul and Ben. How are you two doing?
Well, we could be worse. We kind of dodged the bullet on the storm, and we're really grateful that we're all in one piece here.
And
Yeah,
somehow
that's
we have
exactly
power,
true.
but the rest of Woonsocket does not. Anyway, my dad and I have this is first question here. First question. Just throwing that out there. All right, my dad and I have a combined 47 years working in the paranormal, but we haven't had much to do with numerology. So could you explain to us what it is exactly?
Well, your dad's correct in saying it is a science of numbers, and the Pythagoras, which is so famous for the Pythagorean theorem and being this man who studied not just numbers but vibration, he also had to do with harmonics. And what's interesting is that all of us, when we're born, we come through with a certain sound. And when you break down the numbers, that's why you can meet someone and say, I really like this person, or you meet someone else and say, that person just drained my blood. Like they just were so much work to talk to, and now I actually feel tired. Well, what I did was compile the information and research and write books about the subject to help people attract healthier relationships. There are toxic numbers out there, and there are compatible. You obviously want to know who's who, so you're prepared when you meet that person.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I have to say something about you two, though. So let's talk about you. I did get the three numbers on both of you with your name and also the three numbers of your birthday. It is no accident you can work together because technically your life path number is a natural match. The day you're born is compatible, and your attitude's a natural match. And here's what it means. In Ben's case, Ben, you're an old soul because you're a 9. That's like saying when you were a little kid, you knew things way beyond your years.
You have no idea.
But that's the beauty of numbers is I actually do. Like I look at him and go, oh, wow, I'm on to Ben.
Yeah.
So even though, Paul, you're the dad, and by the way, you have the father number, the 6 takes pride in being a good parent. Is he the only child, or is there more than Ben?
No, that's a very good
I don't know what's going on.
question because we have, of course, Ben has an older brother. But we have our attitude toward the paranormal. I don't know if you know much about us, but we're really strange. I like to think in a good way.
Right.
We had a miscarriage very early in our marriage. We've been married for 30 years, my wife and I. I don't know how she puts up with me, but she does. And we had the miscarriage. But people say, you have 3 children, don't you? And of course we don't. We just have the 2. But that unborn child is a presence in our lives that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. That makes sense, but in your case, Paul, because you do have so many 6s, you are a nurturer. Ben can always feel the support of you as the dad. In Ben's case, Ben, sometimes people will think you're being condescending or patronizing, but you're not. You're just a 9 life path, which happens to be the old soul. It's like on a subconscious level, they will think you think you're better than they are, and that's not where you come from. You don't compete with anyone, Ben. You have high standards for yourself. You strive to be your best self.
I am kind of condescending, actually.
Well, you sound it. That's what they'll think. And then you have a 7 in your soul, which means 7s ask the big question, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? And that's your soul, Ben. So it makes sense that you would be a part of this with your dad. And Paul, in your case, you both have the 3, which is sense of humor. So I'm sure you're both goofballs.
Oh, we're completely nuts.
Yeah, you have to.
How do you figure this stuff out? Where is there a 9 in my name?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask him. How do you take a birth date and then arrive at these conclusions?
When you take your full date of birth, if you go to numberslady.com and say, what's my life path number, you can look that up. But when you take Ben's full date of birth and reduce it to 1 digit, it becomes a 9 life path. The day, Ben, what day were you born?
April 20th.
Yeah, so 2 plus 0 is 2. So that's the day you're born when I talk about the number 2. And then your name, we're looking at the Pythagoras number system, like the alphabet. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. It's certainly a little more complicated when we do radio. I'm all about cutting to the chase. If you wanted to learn how to do your chart, that's what the book Love by the Numbers is all about.
But he has the same birthday as Hitler.
Yeah.
Is that surprising, Paul?
Well, no, because my wife, the poor woman's in labor, and she said, "Oh, you and your history, you had to bring that up."
I can't tell if that's an insult or not.
No, here's what's nice about it.
No, it's not.
Here's what I would tell you about Hitler. As bad as we know the guy was, people did admire him. He had a huge following. Mm-hmm. So that's like saying, Ben, you've come through with the gift of strength in your numbers, and then you just have to choose to go to a positive place with it. It also means you can be extreme. Like, you can be really happy, and sometimes you're not happy at all. And whatever that emotion, it's obvious. Like, you can see it in your face, Ben. You're not going to fake it for people.
No, that's true. He's really genuine. And one thing I admire about my son, he has no ego, which is very important with what we do.
Well, remember what I said, though. Ego means edging God out.
Yeah, I like that.
So
that's
God
very
has
true.
to be a part of it. And in Ben's soul, it's the number 7. The more he taps into the spiritual base of life, the happier he's going to be because it's fulfilling to his soul. The other thing you two share, when you take the month and day and reduce it to one digit, you both have a 6. 6 means magnetic. People are drawn to it. And it's also creativity. So the creative juice is there. Do you guys write books together, too, or what's going on?
Well, we're about to. I've written 7 books myself, and Ben is...
but it's time for Ben to jump in.
Oh, yeah, it is, absolutely. No, we've been, we're planning to do that
Well, that should do real well, because when I was blessed, in my case, with my mother, Gwen McCants, whose numbers are very similar to mine. When I write my books, she's a wonderful writer, so she does the editing. And I can hear both voices in the book, and it just makes for good conversation. You and your son have that same gift. When you guys get in the zone, it's just a great, you throw the ball. Some people you throw the ball. In your case, I feel like it's almost ping pong. It's really fast sometimes. You guys just go. And other times, you don't have to say a word. You could lift an eyebrow and know what each other's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no, that's pretty well.
I suppose that makes sense because he mumbles at me and points at something. I know exactly what he's saying.
Yeah, the Eno men tend to mumble, and we have a sort of Enoese language that frustrates my wife. My brother was an uncle.
Well, I have to know, what's her full date of birth? I'm very curious about her versus you.
Okay, she might be listening to this on the way back from her office.
Okay.
All right, well, my name is Jackie, and it's, I better remember this, February 21st, 1953.
Okay, so she's also
3 weeks older than me.
Born on a 3-day 5. So she's a 5. She's got to stay real busy, Jackie. It's like gotta go, gotta do, very high energy. And even if she wants life to go smoothly, there's always a drama. It's never a dull moment for Jackie.
That's true. Talk to our cat as the animal communicator said she did, and he'll tell you what a busy household.
Well, what's funny is the number 5 is compared to the cat. Because if you come on to a cat, the cat's out the door. If you ignore the cat comes back. That's your wife.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Let's just say 30 years of marriage.
That makes sense.
But you know what makes it work? You know what makes that work, Paul? Is that you guys have space in your togetherness. Meaning you're not always together.
Yeah.
You go off and do your own thing, and then when you come back, you report and talk about what happened.
That's exactly what we do, yeah.
That makes it a better marriage. Like, your life paths are actually considered a challenge, which is common, but I always say if the two of us agree on everything, then one of us is not necessary. Right?
That's quite true.
And so Jackie and you, there are times you do not agree, but you both can learn from that. And humor is still what you all share. She was born on a 3-day, so she's another one who wants to laugh and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really great. And we were going to get to that later after some questions, but I'm glad you got to it right up front and show us how you do what you do. Now, on this show, as you know, we go deep. We ask questions you may never have heard before, although you with your experience may have, but a lot of our guests are kind of surprised. Now, what exactly is happening when you do readings with numbers? What are you communicating with, or are you just mechanically reading the numbers?
Well, first of all, all of us, and I'm sure you both know this, we're all psychically in tune.
Yep.
Some of us are more gifted than others. The tool of numerology, when I look at numbers, you can run, but you can't hide. I can see the whole picture. So that's my gift. The number is the tool, like the first thing I look at. But when I'm reading someone, I can see their whole story. It all comes to me.
Let me just interrupt you here and just make an aside for the sake of the listeners here. What you say, what our guest is saying about Pythagoras is true. Having been steeped in Pythagoras and philosophical studies and in the seminary, Pythagoras really was a mystic. The early mathematicians were mystics.
That's right.
And they saw magical properties in numbers, and of course prediction was one of the main reasons for studying mathematics. And so it's not that. So Glynis isn't making this stuff up here. And particularly Pythagoras was a real mystical guy, and a lot of mathematicians look back on him today and say, well, he was just a little flaky, but his math was great, because that's how they pass through
ridiculous.
it.
Yeah,
exactly.
He was phenomenal.
So
and
please
those
go ahead.
people who study his work, do you know all the top leaders of the day, like the smartest ones that we dealt, like Aristotle, they talk about all of them, pay tribute to him, saying that Pythagoras really helped them when it came to, like I said, if you do not know geometry, do not enter. Do not enter my home. Because that mathematics, there's something very spiritual connected to it. And when it comes to artwork, have you ever heard of the name, I think his name is Jasper Jacobs. Is that familiar?
Yes.
Well, he's an artist who paints numbers, like literally, because the belief is behind the numbers. You are literally experiencing, behind a painting, you can experience the numbers. It's there. And when he did that, people became obsessed with his paintings. Like they just had to, now he sells them for like $1 million each. And that makes me crack up because I'm like, people do know. We may not know how it works, just like what you guys do. You study all of it. You want the answers. Back to my point about Ben, who am I, what am I, why are we here?
Yeah.
Same idea.
That's
but
right.
Numbers are in everything, and that's why I love it. Like every day, even the time of day is significant. Like 11:11. Have you guys studied that at all?
Oh, we were going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we talked.
Yeah. But first, I want to give our numbers again. Now, admittedly, you get 500,000 people in the Providence, Boston area without power and probably can't use their phones. But if you do have access to a phone, or if you do have your cell phone working, or if you're in the car, certainly feel free to give us a call. It's 766-1240 in the 401 area code, or nationally 800-449-1240. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I was saying is 11:11. The belief is that when you see 11:11, the universe is wide open to what it is you want. And so what I've always done, if you see 11:11 a.m. or 11:11 p.m., you should focus that whole minute on what it is you're trying to achieve. If you were writing a book, you might say that I finished my book. Or if you were single, you'd say to attract healthy love. But you're supposed to spend that full minute asking for what you want because the universe is open to it.
All right.
And it works. Like I've had, I've done this a long time, so I've done over like 15 to 20,000 reads. And I've had people send emails telling me how they used 11:11. Like one guy had proposed to a woman he'd been with for 2 years. She wasn't ready for the commitment, and she broke up with him because she felt pressure. So what he did, he let her go, but every day at 11:11 in the morning and at night, he just said that her name was Michelle. He says that Michelle realizes we're meant to be together and that I love her. 6 weeks passed. Suddenly she picks up the phone. She said, I can't stop thinking about you. I do love you, and I'm ready for that commitment.
Okay.
So that's why I enjoy it. I like to give people tools for a little bit of magic in their life.
All right, but let's get back to that other question here that Ben was supposed to ask us.
All right. No, we already asked. So what exactly is happening when you do readings?
Yeah. Well, how does
with
this work? I mean,
I told
what
you guys,
I'm getting at is
numbers come to life for me. That's the answer to the
So you're not
question.
communicating with like anything. You're not like those psychic people that are like, I talk to the dead or
Not at
whatever.
all. As a matter of fact, you know what I say? Why talk to the dead when the living needs so much help?
Well, that's well put.
Wow.
Right. I have no time for the dead. They get to lay down and they don't pay taxes.
So you're kind of right. You're kind of like
I'd rather
Russell
help the
Crowe.
living.
You're kind of like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. That's one movie
That's
I did
right.
see.
Now, that part's very true, because when I watch that movie, I'm like, wow, that's kind of how my brain works.
I see.
It never shuts down on numbers. There's something else I wanted to tell Ben that's fun about him. Ben, you actually have the numbers 1, 2, 3 in your chart, and that means you should look, like when you wake up, before you get out of bed, you could literally say, my life is as easy as 1, 2, 3, because it's in your chart. 1 means ambition, being self-motivated, wanting to achieve and make a difference. The number 2 is your ability to love and feel deeply. And then 3 reminds you to laugh and have fun, to not take it all so seriously.
I've only said like a few things to you. How do you know of all this?
That's 1, 2, 3. It's in your chart. And in the book, Love by the Numbers, that's actually written about. Like at the back, I think I have a chapter. It's something like what I learned that Pythagoras didn't teach me. And that's through my own conclusions of doing so many reads. And the 1, 2, 3 is one of the things I learned.
Now, excuse me, we didn't have a chance to read it because it only arrived at the studio today. So,
well, now you're going to, and you know what? I'll send you extra copies. I know you want to do a giveaway, but I want you guys to learn a little more about you and the numbers. It's a lot of fun.
Well, that's very cool. It certainly sounds like. Okay, well, let me try again to just ask this kind of question here. Now, in my experience, at least, here's where it gets tricky. And now, numerology has always been thought of as a form of divination. You know, asking. I know that's not the way you describe it, but it's been considered in history a form of divination. And divination is a word that means literally you go to the gods and you ask them, you know, whether you're reading entrails or tarot or mediums or Ouija boards, anything else, or any other form of divination. How do you know that what you're picking up is actually true, even with numerology?
Because in my case, I'm actually very blessed with my memory is lethal. Okay, when I've done reads through the years and I was trying conclusions, I would see the pattern in like a 7 life path again and again, or an 8 life path, or a 9 life path. My husband has a master's in statistical analysis. He sat next to me once at a party where I did like 30 reads in a row, and he said, Glynis, what you do is an anomaly. He says, because you consistently nail it. He goes, and what that tells me is, although I don't understand numerology, he said to me, the accuracy tells me it's something I want to apply to my life.
You certainly have nailed us.
Well, but guys, this is what I love about your numbers. I mean, I wish I was in studio with you. You'd be all my buddies.
Oh, yeah, we just have a great, I don't know.
Well, you know what it is, you guys? Even though life can throw stuff at us, you tend to go to an optimistic place. Like, you always feel like knowledge is power, so the more you know, the more you can weather the storm. Literally.
Well, that comes from
in your case, literally, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, that comes from what we call multiverse awareness. So it's something that you don't hear much about. I write about it, and it's being aware of all your lives and all these parallel worlds. And
I
you know, there's so much good out there. No matter how alone you are, you're never alone. And that's I just, you know, sometimes people my age, I'm 58, you get jaded. Yeah. And you know, I'm always looking forward to things. Well, and that's why I try to get my sons to do the same thing.
Yes. One of the books I plan on writing is the God Numerology Connection. Because the truth is, it is connected to God. And if you look at the Bible, when you read about the numbers, like anything that happens, numbers come up again and again. The basic definition of that story about that particular number is exactly numerology. So I've been blessed to have met a priest because I was raised Catholic, and he's going to help me with this book. And I want to pull those two things together because I get tired of the word the occult.
Yeah.
You know, numerology is not to replace God. Numerology is a tool that we were given, and how lucky to have it. That's how I see it.
No, I understand that. It's certainly very, very important, the connection between every aspect of the paranormal in the general sense and spirituality. Yeah. You want to throw that one out of there, Ben?
Maybe, but one sec. Could you do a reading for my girlfriend just because I was...
What's her date of birth?
Let me think. August 13th. August 13th? Yeah, August 13th. Or do you need the year?
What year? Yeah.
1991.
Okay, so hold on. 8, 4, 3, 4,
I don't want to forget that date.
Yeah.
What's her first name?
Marion.
Well, you know, Marion has two personalities. She's not just one person. She's born on a 4-day, which is that serious part of her that, you know, A plus B must equal C. That's the part of her. There's a voice inside that says, no matter how good, not good enough. Or if I can't do it perfectly, I don't want to do it. But behind it, she's a life path 5, which is the spontaneous, fun person who wants to go out and have a good time. And then her attitude number is 3, which is communication. She will speak her mind.
Yep,
she's not going to withhold it.
It's entirely true.
Yeah. So that's important. When you see, like in your case, Ben, and this is true for Paul, the fact that you're born on a 3-day, Paul, and your 6th life path, it means what you see is what you get. Ben, you're born on a 2-day, 9 life path, what you see is what you get. With Marion, she sometimes looks one way, and it turns out something else is going on. And maybe that is what intrigues you. You know, you wouldn't want a girl that just acts one way. You definitely she keeps you stimulated, to say the least.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to take a commercial break and hope that, wonder if Marion's listening up in Worcester because they didn't have any power on campus. But
They got it back at 3 a.m.
Uh-oh, well, you're in trouble now. Anyway, okay, we're going to take a bit of a break here. We'll be right back on Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno and our wonderful guest, Glynis McCants, talking about numerology on WOON 1240 AM and ONWorldwide.com in New England's beautiful Blackstone River Valley. Stay with us. Everything you know is wrong.
Hi, I'm Ben Eno.
And I'm Paul Eno. Check out our show, Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno, here on ON 1240 AM on Mondays on our new drive time slot at 6 p.m. The paranormal is not what you think it is. You're going to examine the whole thing from a whole new perspective on our show, and we expect that you're going to be very surprised. Do not check your brain at the door. You're going to need it.
Be there.
ON Radio, ON Worldwide.
Yeah, we just wanted to mention a bit about Amazon Kindle today. E-readers are becoming popular, and that's because printing is very expensive, so therefore books are in the standard form are very expensive. And so was a trip to the bookstore, which can cost you $4 or almost. And there's a lot of money to be saved in having a device like Kindle, which can literally download over 900,000 newspapers, books, and magazines. So you want to check it out at Staples. Of course, Staples selling these in various forms. You can get them in color. You can get them in black and white. They are as low as $114. And Amazon.com online. Check it out as well. Amazon Kindle. You can get 4 of my books on Amazon Kindle. Certainly Faces at the Window, Footsteps in the Attic, Turning Home, God, Ghosts, and Human Destiny, and under my historian's hat, Rhode Island, A Genial History. And let me tap into our guest here, too, because usually the guest can join the commercial because, Glynis, they also have books on Amazon Kindle. Are your books on Kindle? Okay, she's there, but she's all right.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Yeah, we're trying to get you involved in the commercial here for Amazon Kindle. Are your books
I was
on?
going to say that was the fastest commercial I've ever heard.
Are your books on Kindle?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so there you go,
Glynis
folks.
Has Your Number is on Kindle, not Love by the Numbers. It's too new.
Okay.
Yeah, but Glynis Has Your Number, the original book, is definitely on Kindle.
Excellent. So that's one way to get it, and check it out.
And
And we always tell people on the commercial here that you can get it for a lot less than the retail price, and no gas money too. So, okay, very good. So check it out, folks. Amazon Kindle, Amazon.com, and Staples, and wherever else they're sold. Check them out. They make great gifts at any time of the year. Okay, we are back behind the paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno on CBS. That's last night. Although we got preempted by the storm on CBS last night. And we have our wonderful guest, Glynis McCants. We're talking about numerology here on WOON 1240 AM. Our numbers again, if you'd like to call in, if you do have phone service in the midst of this electrical crisis in the wake of Hurricane Irene, the number is locally 401-766-1240 and nationally 800-449-1240. So, Glynis, I guess Ben is going to start us off with another question here.
Okay, the actual question I was going to get to before, I was like, I need to know. You seem to deal with people very often, especially their love lives. Can you give us a typical example of how you do that?
Yeah, somebody's romance.
Well, besides us.
Well, here's what happened. Like, for me personally, why did I even write a book about Love by the Numbers? I was giving advice on couples when I would counsel, and I thought, well, what about making me my own science project? So I did a dating site where I said, numerologist looking for a man who's really got my number. And men responded, and, lo and behold, I found my husband, Charlie Youngblood. This is 9 years ago when we first connected, and I have never loved anyone more in my life. I've never had such a best friend. He is my everything. And I thought, why would I not want that for everyone else? So since I had not met him in person, I did it literally on paper. Like, he sent the birthday, sent the name, I ran the charts, and I knew he was the one worth looking at. And sure enough, it came to pass. So that's how it works. The numbers tell you the story. Like, in my book, I do chart comparisons. You can put your 6 numbers out there and then do a chart comparison with somebody else and see, where are we compatible, where are we toxic, and is it worth your time? And now, how would you know that? If you have 1 or 2 challenges with someone, you can agree to disagree. If you have 3 challenges, it means you're always working hard on the relationship. But if you have 4 challenge numbers out of 6, it's too much. It's that kind of relationship where you barely get out of the house, or when you're working, you're always distracted because the relationship is such a mess. So that's why I wrote the book.
Okay, here is something that concerns me. Always has, and it gets into the notion of free will. All right. Some people might say, whether it's astrology or any other form of divination, are we prisoners of our numbers, or can we change and become different?
Our numbers are a gift because they give you a sense of where you want to go. I'll give you an example. If you're a 3 life path, 3 is communication. Well, I've met people who have like a 4 in their soul number, and the 4 is like that very logical part, so they wind up being an accountant, let's say. And I'll say to them, well, wow, you're an accountant. Well, that's to get a paycheck, but what do you love to do creatively? And this one guy I'm thinking of, he's like, I play guitar and I like to sing, but I just do it in my apartment. I said, that is ridiculous. With a 3, I know you're talented. So next thing you know, he went to a coffee shop that was local, asked if he could start playing there, and it turned into a big career. This guy now writes music and has CDs out there and a fan base.
Okay, well, that makes the point.
That's why it matters. So it's not... You're not under control. You've got messages, and then you decide, well, how can I make it happen?
Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
Yeah, it's really a gift. I can't emphasize that enough. Like, looking at the two of you, like the first thing I said, no wonder you two work together, and no wonder, although Ben is younger, he really isn't. He's an old man trapped in a boy's body.
Yeah. Well,
and you know it, Paul, and you knew it early on with him.
Oh, I sure did. The minute he was born, I knew it. Especially when he started to talk. Anyway, that's another story. We've talked about that before. But to go back to the romance process here, bringing people together is always a good thing. But as I often say, we live in a society where many people never get any older than 12, emotionally speaking. And do you ever feel that you would be irresponsible to bring certain people together in certain cases, even if their numbers are right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because that is where free will comes in, right? Because there's a positive and negative side to every number.
Yeah.
Here's what I tell people. Even if your chart looks perfect with somebody, let's say that person's an alcoholic or someone who takes drugs, well, then all bets are off. No matter what those vibrations are, they're not real. It's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't condone it. I'm like, don't tell me he's perfect if he's a guy who drinks and hits you. And then they say, but the chart says we're good. I said, no. The numbers were good, and he chose to alter them by being someone who abuses substances.
So good judgment comes in here.
Big time.
Okay, good. That's reassuring. Okay, Ben's got another question.
Okay, you're often called the numerologist to the stars. What stars have you worked with?
Well, as you can imagine, Ben, a lot of them don't like me to answer that question.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a guy in particular. He has sold like 20 million CDs, and he's wonderful. He's into country music, but oh my goodness, he is so secretive that even when I read him, he won't give me the name of the woman he wants to know about. He only gives me the numbers. Which I think is funny. I'm like, wow. I mean, you're talking to the numbers lady and you don't trust that I won't say the name. But the people I can tell you I've done because they were on air, Lisa Gibbons, the talk show host Lisa, is a huge client of mine because we met on television and I helped her name her baby by the numbers and they are incredibly compatible. Donnie and Marie Osmond love my work, especially Marie. I did a lot of reads for her. Dr. Phil's wife, Robin McGraw, loves to book me for readings because they're accurate. So I deal with celebrities all the time. I get calls. People recommend me to each other. I help people pick the right day to sign a contract because some days are naturally matched to you and some are toxic. I help people schedule surgery to make sure it goes smoothly versus a day that has a challenge in it. So that's why I'm reached out to in that way. And I have been for years now.
Okay. There's another question here, which I think you've pretty much answered it already, but let me rephrase, Ben, if you don't mind me taking it. I'll just rephrase it a bit. Do you find, the claim that you can know someone very intimately through numbers might be threatening to some people.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that?
Well, it's okay. Like early on, it wasn't, and I won't even say which numbers they are, but I know for a fact there are certain numbers that are more defensive than others. So I used to speak more freely, and then they'd get defensive. So I realized that communication and telling the truth is still an art form, right? You still have to pick your words carefully. Well, then I mastered that. Like it became, I could do radio and help people, and they totally understood I had their back, that it was not to criticize them. One number I will say, the number 8 in numerology, they often feel like they're a victim. Like when things go wrong, it's hard for them to be accountable. They feel like it's happening to them. So when I wrote my first book, Glynis Has Your Number, I actually did a chapter called 8, the most misunderstood number in numerology. So I addressed them personally, and they were so grateful because they always feel they're misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
So what's nice about numbers, let's say you both knew numerology and you were going to interview a guest. If that person was a challenge, you guys would just make a note and know how to communicate and still get a good interview.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what matters. And in business, I always say, if you're doing business and you can pick your business partner, well, then you've got to make sure you're compatible. Because when you hear those bad stories like, oh, we were doing business and all of a sudden my business partner stole the money and left town, you can bet that was a toxic number. But they didn't know it. And also marriage. I believe that if you're single and you're just looking for love, you want to pick numbers that are compatible to you to ensure a healthy relationship down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the next question was going to be about your publicist mentioning that you wanted our birthdays, and we've already covered that. So we're going to we're going to turn it around. What are your numbers?
Well, I'm 33 triple D. That's my joke about my breast size, gentlemen. I say you need your 3D glasses to look at me.
All right. How so?
It's a joke about boobs. Come on, guys.
Oh, no.
Drink your coffee.
No, I understand.
Wake up. I know Hurricane Irene almost hit you.
Yeah, I spent 10 years in the seminary. Give me a break. But so you obviously are outgoing, extroverted.
Yeah, I'm born on a 3-day. Now, just so you know, 3 is the natural comedian. My background was stand-up. I did stand-up 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And when I looked at your 3s, I knew that 3 is communication. But you guys, it should be through writing. It should be motivating people. Like, you know, we are called to motivate and uplift others.
Oh, yes.
Because I have double 3, it means what you see is what you get. I don't have hidden agenda. I tend to be upfront. And I would say that's true for you guys. I don't think you enjoy withholding the information that you believe to be true.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well,
yeah, we seem to be a good team here.
Yeah, but you partnered up for that. It's like, you know what? We both are on the same page. Yeah, we're both going to learn new information. Sometimes we may not see it the same way, but we both know we're seeking a higher truth. That's what you guys do. And being a double 3, when I talk to people, they know I'm legit. This isn't a game for me. So, of course, like this weekend, we had a huge conference at the Pasadena Hilton, and everyone was so excited at the end because they felt like they got the tools they needed to get on with their career or their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay,
that's what
well,
it's about.
All right. Well, Ben's got next question here.
Okay, so you're well known for predicting world events. So how exactly do you do that with numbers?
Well, let me give you an example. This month of August, if you break down just the number, it's an 8, the month of August. So I said on January 1st when I wrote my newsletter, I said, 8 is always about politics and money. I said, keep an eye on world politics this month and also keep your eye on what's happening right here in the United States when it comes to money, okay? Well, you know, by the 4th of this month, they suddenly downgraded our rating from AAA to AA+. How's that for a bullseye? I mean, everyone who follows my newsletter shot me a note. Because what I also said, I said, because we're on the world number 4, 2011, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1 is 4, the 4 represents the truth. Like if you're up to no good, you get caught in the cycle. So I said, with those two things in mind, I said, whatever happens with the money and politics this month will be more surprising and stronger than usual. And sure enough, that's what happened. So that's what I do. I study the numbers. And even the World Series, you know, people track me down. Who's going to win the game? And I don't play sports. But I have predicted 3 years in a row who's going to win. And how did I do it? I look at the quarterbacks. I break down their numbers. I break down the location of where the game's going to be played. I break down the date. And then I see who looks better on paper, like who's got the edge. And if it's obvious, I will say it on air, and then it happens to happen.
All right, this question is a little convoluted, so try and bear with me here. Numbers are, well, there are those who say we invented mathematics, but the fact is we discovered mathematics.
Discovered,
because it's part of nature.
Yes, it is.
Nevertheless, numbers are assigned by people. They are nevertheless abstractions, you know, birthdays, dates, years. Right. Everybody say, oh, 2012, the world's going to, I mean, that's a date that, you know, we put these dates, we impose these dates, these numbers.
Right, but the end of the Mayan calendar, isn't that a date that...
Oh, yeah, no, we're going to get to that in a minute, but I'm just saying, I'm talking about the objective reality of numbers. I think that there must be, and maybe you agree, maybe disagree, some sort of connection between the numbers we create and assign and human consciousness and the way its momentum and its existence and its progression. You see what I'm getting at here?
I totally get what you're saying, but I want to say I do believe. I'll give you an example. Let's say someone's adopted and they don't know their real birthday, but there's a day they keep celebrating, like a particular birth date.
Yeah.
I have found when I counsel them, the traits of the numbers on that birthday are theirs. Like it's true for them.
And that's why they relate to it in their own consciousness.
Yes,
okay, that makes sense.
It's like that vibration becomes them. So I agree with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, before we get to the 2012 thing, Ben's got one more question here about something that came up before.
Yeah, so what is this 11-11-11 thing?
Yeah, is anything going to happen on Veterans Day?
You know what? I have a lot of people, 5 couples in particular, that are going to get married that day, but I help them pick it because it happened to be compatible to them. But 11-11-11 is not ideal for everyone, meaning there are days that are compatible to you, there are days that can be a challenge, and there are days that have duality. That just means in the actual day there's conflict. That particular day, I like it. It's 11-11-11. The actual day, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 promotes love. You take the month and day, reduce it to 1 digit. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. 4 is about seeking knowledge and learning new information. And then when you add the whole thing, 11-11-2011, reduce it to 1 digit, it's the number 8. 8 is about money and business-minded, okay? When I counsel someone, they ask me, well, should we get married that day? If their chart is compatible to that day, I say yes. But if it isn't, I say no. No, you don't want to get married that day. That day will not go well for you.
All right.
And now on a spiritual question of the same question, 11-11, remember I said that's when the universe is wide open to what you want?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that is a day, like I would tell anyone out there, light a white candle and meditate on what you're trying to achieve.
Is it
Write
wide
down
open?
this list of your goals on that day. That would be smart for anybody to do.
So it's wide open to what anybody wants? That sounds it might be a little bit chaotic.
Well, it doesn't matter, because remember, I'm sure you've noticed this, that what people believe is what they manifest.
That's true.
So someone who has more hope, someone who believes it's possible, they're going to have bigger breakthroughs that day than someone who's just cynical and doesn't believe it anyway.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Now, here's a big one for us. And I don't know if you heard about all the big stir we created with George Nuri in May on this, but what do you see for the 2012-2016 period? Or is that an appropriate question?
Well, but you're going to have to say it again. I can tell you what I see for 2012, and I'm going to tell you this whole Mayan calendar thing, okay?
Okay.
When you break down the year, just like I told you, this cycle of 4, this world number, is all about you can run but you can't hide. If you're up to no good, you get caught. Well, we've seen it all over the place. That goes Osama bin Laden got caught this year. Gaddafi, all these leaders, Muammar Gaddafi is now missing, right?
Yeah.
Mubarak, he got pulled out. Arnold Schwarzenegger, cheating and having a child. We found it out this year. Congressman Anthony Weiner saying that the photo wasn't him on Twitter. Yeah, it was, and now he's out. That's the kind of cycle we're in right now. Next year, cycle of 5 means fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be quite the ride. It also means just pay attention. It's going to move really quickly, and it will never be a dull moment. But I personally like it. It's a better cycle than what we're in right now. There's a heaviness to the world. 2011, that energy.
Yeah.
You can feel it above you. Like
sure can.
Anyone who is intuitive, you guys can feel the pressure of what everyone's feeling.
Everybody
Next
knows
year, it's lighter. But the actual day when that Mayan calendar ends, the concern I have, just like people who believe in the dark side of 666, it's the same idea. There will be some trouble on that day for the ones who insist that there will be.
Mm-hmm.
They want it.
So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in the big picture, no big deal. It's a good day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you don't see any great change. Some people say it's good. Some people say, okay, well, that's
you know
refreshing.
I see that, though? And this, I think you guys have tapped into this or you wouldn't have this show. What is changing for us, we are growing as people. Like, we have, I think of us as taking baby steps in the millennium, that we need to realize we are all in this together. And if someone dies in the Middle East because of one of our soldiers, they may as well die here, too. You know, we're all that connected, and that is where we're shifting.
That's for sure. We certainly are connected. That's the message in my last book. I don't know.
Right, so that's great. So what's good is I believe this Mayan calendar shift is helping us get more on that road. that we're in this together and we need to work together.
Good. Okay, well, that's a refreshing point of view. Ben, further questions?
Give me like 5 minutes.
Okay,
I'll think
all
of
right.
something.
Well, I wanted to give you a chance before, because we tend to run out of time here very quickly. Tell us about your books, where people can get them, your website, where you're appearing, your own show, too?
Yes, I do have a show on Fridays at Sky Radio, powered by CBS.
Yeah.
And the show is where I counsel. It's Just Ask Glynis. I like to cover what's going on in maybe world politics or sometimes celebrity stuff because I'm really good at those relationships. And then I counsel you. And there's 3 things I like to do. If you're in a relationship, you want to know what's up, we can look at those numbers. If your home energy feels toxic to you, I can help you alter your home energy. And also career. If you have a career you're thinking of doing, you give me some choices, and I can tell you by the numbers which one's best for you. And then Love by the Numbers, that's the book that I'm all about it, because I believe you don't even have to be in a relationship to enjoy the book. This is also a way of reading your friends, understanding who is in your life, who's good for you, and who do you need to let go of. That's what Love by the Numbers is. And I also give you, if you feel kind of depressed or sad, I give you affirmations to flip those thoughts to a positive. And where is it available? If they go to numberslady.com, they can look up their life path number. They can sign up for my free newsletter. But the books are there, and obviously Amazon.com. You really can't beat it. So if you click on that link, it brings you right to Amazon.
And certainly Amazon Kindle.
Yeah, and I also invite them to go to the order page and look at, because I do those calendars. And the feedback on my calendar has been tremendous. I have people who say, I was going to have knee surgery, and the doctor said it would take 8 weeks to heal. It took 4. And because they picked a perfect day to have surgery. That's what it's about.
Well, I wanted to ask you, too, if the numbers take you into, and I mean that literally, do you get carried into other areas of what we might call the paranormal?
Yes.
UFOs,
Yes.
cryptids, anything like that? Could you tell us about that?
Well, obviously I believe in UFOs. I've had too many examples of people telling me stories, especially my mother, who happens to be a brilliant woman, has told me stories that are amazing. And also that whole dimension thing, like, time, how there really is no time.
Yeah.
My parents told me a story. They were in the middle of the ocean, headed to Catalina, actually, coming home from Catalina, and they saw what looked like a pirate ship, and could see a guy in like pirate garb, like the torn not jeans, but the black pants that they would wear in the day with that white, fluffy type shirt.
Yeah.
And he was doing something with the water, and my father said, ahoy, ahoy, mate. And there were 4 of them on the boat. They all could see it, yet it was just like a ghost. It was just a moment of time that they were witnessing.
We get that day in and day out.
Yeah, and I love that. So to me, when anything happens out there, people will shoot it to me, then I run numbers to see what happened. Like, remember that one shuttle that blew up in the sky? It was a space shuttle. Do you remember that one?
The Challenger disaster, yeah.
Yeah, but when they were trying to come back in, right?
Yeah.
And then they blew up. When I ran the numbers, everyone on there had a 5, which is drama, and 8, which can be the victim. Like, there was a real vibrational thing happening in that moment.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so that's what I do.
Okay. And I did want to get back to something that, I guess, to kind of bring us full circle, the notion of vibration. Now,
Yes.
there are a lot of people who are on the show, they're throwing out words like energy and vibration. And I do the same thing, not vibration, but energy.
No.
They never give us concrete answers on what they mean.
Yeah, it sounds scientific, but it really isn't,
Right, but let me tell you something. Let's go back to each number has a definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just look at a chart again. I'm going to go to Paul this time. Paul, you have to learn that if life is going smoothly, you should say it out loud. It's going good and I deserve it. Because you're not used to that. Like, you're better at damage control. If it's messed up, you're like, okay, we got to fix this. So if things get quiet, you almost feel like you might be out of the loop.
You should have been in New England yesterday if you want damage control, but I see what you mean.
Right, so you just have to learn to say it's going good and I deserve it. When I talk vibration, here's what's funny. Because I've done this so long and it's such a big part of how I interpret, I can sit in a restaurant and if a group of people get up and they walk by me, I can feel all of it. Mm-hmm. And it's all vibration. I can feel, without knowing the numbers, they're all hitting me with their vibration.
Yeah.
So it's a force, and it's a feeling.
Well, I was going to mention, too, that the ancient Greeks were very aware of that, including Pythagoras.
That's
the
right.
notion of music or tones, for lack of or having a role in the creation and life of the world, which I think is really a beautiful concept.
Wait, how about this? If you put and it's no coincidence, of course, but if you put chords, you know how chords in music have numbers, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You can put two toxic chords together, and it sounds horrible.
Yeah.
It's like making bad music. Then you put together compatible chords, and you've got beautiful music. That's the same thing with people. You spend time with someone who's a challenge or toxic to you, they really will not get it. Next thing you know, you're fighting. It gets ugly. But
It's
if
true.
this is why people should learn this as a tool. If you know they're a challenge or toxic, it won't affect you. You will not take it personally, and you will not feel defensive.
The
Then
human
you can
vampire
still have
syndrome.
nice music.
Yeah.
And, in spite of their bad sound, you can still have a nice music.
Very good. Well, on that lovely thought, we want to
Yeah.
thank you for being with us, Glynis. It was a surprise, I think, for us. And you really are a wonderful
Yes.
guest.
Thank
and we want to do this again sometime
Yes,
soon.
I'd love to.
Okay,
You know what
very
we
good.
should do, guys? Before the end of the year, let's do what's in store for the new year. Like, I can do a recap of what happened, but tell you what's in store, and then we could talk about personal year cycles and talk about which one you're going into.
Sounds good.
All right. Cool.
So
Okay.
we'll talk to you in December.
All right, you
Okay.
too.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Good
Okay.
talking with you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Glynis McCants, everyone. Numberslady.com. Okay, there's an email I wanted to get to today. We still have a few more moments, and this is from Tracy in Uxbridge. Now, I sure hope Tracy has power so she can be listening today, but Uxbridge, Massachusetts,
They do
in our
have-
local
they have
listening
power.
area.
We were there yesterday.
Oh, that's right. That's where we had to go all the way up there to get gas up in Massachusetts. Anyway, hopefully Tracy's listening, but there's always the podcast later on.
Okay, so Tracy writes, "Hi, Paul and Ben. I'm curious as to your theories on deja vu experiences, and if they are related to the multiverse theory. When I do have a deja vu moment, the experience is so incredibly detailed and vivid that it's somewhat unsettling. Usually, it involves a conversation with someone about a particular object in a certain environment with something else going on in the background. My husband has them more frequently than I do. Also, I find that my dreams are sometimes so parallel to my waking life, but with just a few differences in details, that I often forget if I dreamt something or if it actually happened in waking life. Because the two are so similar, this is problematic at times. I could also find myself having memories of doing things, meeting people, visiting places, etc., in dreams which have never occurred in waking life. I can't explain having such strong memories of people or places or events in a dream unless I've actually experienced that reality. I assume in a parallel dimension. I'd love to hear more of your theories on dreams. Love your show. Thanks."
Okay. Well, thank you, Tracy. Very articulate and very well-put question. Certainly, I think deja vu and dreams are very closely related. Now, when I was a lot younger, and even before I was interested in the paranormal, you'd have deja vu experiences and say, gee, this is really unusual, and I felt like I've been here. Deja vu is the feeling that you've been there before, that when you're having a conversation, all of a sudden it hits you that you've been there, you've been with this person, you've been saying the same things, even the scene is the same. And it's probably the closest most people ever get to a multiverse experience that they're aware of. I think we have multiverse experiences all the time. But the thing is that I think this is a very obvious example of experiencing a parallel life and of being connected with it and of remembering either something that has not happened yet or will happen, because time doesn't mean anything. It's all happening right now. And I think that's exactly what it is. Dreams are related to that. And very often, certainly Ben and I sometimes have shared dreams, very obviously in parallel realities, parallel lives, parallel worlds. And I think it's really quite simple, and it's a normal, natural part of our existence. Now, the thing is that in our society, we don't recognize officially these parallel lives or these experiences, and we get kind of nervous when we talk about that, and it's very easy to have your feet leave the ground, and you really can't do that because then you get in trouble with what we used to call the establishment. Okay, they'll
Get in trouble with the man.
Yeah, you can get you can be diagnosed schizophrenic, and all sorts of things can happen, and you'll fill your pockets full of pills, and that's not a good thing. So it's best to have these experiences. It's a spiritual growth, a sign of spiritual growth, to be in touch with all these places where you exist already. But it's also a matter for caution and being very careful of who you tell these things to and how you speak about it, because you have to function in day-to-day life. And unfortunately, until society perhaps reaches this crest of the next step in evolution or consciousness or whatever is supposedly going to happen in the next few years, or if ever, then you better kind of just keep your feet on the ground and kind of be careful, but also enjoy the experience. We're going to have a guest in a couple of weeks, Todd Banks, who is not a famous guy. He's not well known, ordinary workaday fellow from Connecticut, who was a student of mine at International Metaphysical University.
And a former personal trainer.
Yes, and is a man who has experienced the multiverse simply by multiverse awareness, an ordinary guy who's becoming aware of where he is and what he is in many different ways and has grown because of it. And it's a very simple, beautiful spiritual experience, and you come to know God a little bit better because of it. So we'll be talking more about that. But thank you again, Tracy, for the good questions. Yes, I think deja vu is definitely a multiverse experience, as are many dreams. Okay, so I wanted to announce, too, Ben and I will be up this Saturday. The Exeter UFO Festival in Exeter, New Hampshire. Not aware that the hurricane has done any damage to the schedule there. Some of our most popular guests will be speaking, including Stanton Friedman, Kathleen Marden. Ben and I will be there, too. And you can meet us at the Behind the Paranormal radio booth. Proceeds will go to help local children's charities. It's great fun. The whole town gets involved, and a lot of great speakers and a lot of good things to do. Also, if you are in the Rhode Island vicinity, Ben and I will be teaching a course this fall of the Providence Learning Connection. And that is in Providence, of course, using the paranormal to change your life and others. Most unusual course you will ever take. Check the link at behindtheparanormal.com. And many thanks to our producer, Steve Bianchi. And we will not be here next Monday, Labor Day, because we will be in New Hampshire, but we'll be following you. We will be back with you the following Monday, September 12th.
We will be following you.
Yes, we'll be following you. And we're going to welcome back author Kevin Cook for a discussion about ghosts and what they can do for or to your religious beliefs.
Okay. That will be live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on CBS New Sky Radio in Boston, Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Seattle, and online at www.newskyradio.com.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the September 11th events on September 11th, so it'll be very sobering why innocent people sometimes endure terrible events. Okay, we have to close down here with a quote from Einstein. It would be possible to describe everything scientifically, but it would make no sense. All right, there's what he said.
All right, so until next time, never give up and keep sailing with us on our great cosmic journey.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Return to this radio frequency 167 hours from now for another edition of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.